I've been staring at this page for weeks now, and I still have no idea what to make of QR rental teams. Are they good? Are they bad? Do they promote cheating? Is this Game Freak's response to cheating? Why did they kind of update this about a month ago, even though the feature had already been out for a while? Does Game Freak want more people using this? Is not enough people using this? Does it even work out in the end? And I think one of the biggest issues is that because all the hackers out there and all the people that could spoof your Pokemon Global Link account because of using your battle team, I still don't really trust it. I haven't heard anything about it being fixed or not, so that's another pretty big issue for some people as well, for like promoting their Pokemon Global Link, because if someone wants to troll you that day, that's pretty much over. So is this feature dead because of hackers, or what is going on? Is this a response to Pokemon simulators? I still don't know what to think about it, so I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I've just been kind of hung up on it. However, I just had like a random thought. I was like, wait a second, we've seen something similar to this before, and we've also kind of seen something similar to just like a simulator as well in Pokemon Stadium. Now, I'm wondering, does this make Pokemon Stadium kind of a knockoff, or does this take away from the original game because you're not making your Pokemon yourself unless you have the transfer pack included? If you have the transfer pack, then what's stopping you from like going over to a friend's house and putting in your game and having them use your Pokemon and stuff like that? Like, is it still earned? Now, I was just thinking about that because, well, what other situation have you seen where you get to play Pokemon with a pretty full experience without having the Pokemon you've done? This is a Nintendo published game. It's not like some kind of third-party knockoff title where it's like, well, you don't have to obtain the Pokemon to be able to use them in battle. So does Pokemon Stadium change anything about that? I think that Pokemon Stadium kind of unlocked some of the ideas behind the Pokemon Global Link rental teams, but also it was a different time back then, you know. It was very hard to be competitive. IVs were unbreedable, and it wasn't really like, oh, you have to have 5 IV, perfect Pokemon. EV training was such a mess back then as well with how everything broke down, so I don't think it really gave too much of an advantage. And also, the rental Pokemon, I'm not going to say they were bad, but they were not optimized, and we don't know if they actually had, like, IVs and EVs or anything like that. And pretty much the only way I won battles was by choosing one-hit KO moves and a Gengar, and it seemed to go pretty well when I'd beat my friends up with like, okay, Gengar, go out and not use Shadow Ball because it didn't even exist in the first generation. And one-hit KO moves were actually really good because a lot of the movesets were so unoptimized, and there were so, like, few moves that you could use against other Pokemon that would take 2 or 3 hits to knock out your average Pokemon. Therefore, if you got lucky on a one-hit KO move, it was just more value for the damage per turn or something like that. So that was kind of it, and, like, the game was not as refined, so I'm wondering if that just made it better in a way. But we can also look at the Pokemon Global Link and the rental teams. And then also the Pokemon Company uses really weird terminology when talking about the rental teams. You know, rent before you buy. Well, you don't buy Pokemon, and it seems like they're trying to make a split kind of push right here that, oh, you can use this in the battle tree, in the Battle Royal Dome. So that means you can get the items. You know, if you don't have a strong enough team to start building your team to getting all these pricey items and stuff, then that means you can use this team to get those items a lot quicker, because now you already have more powerful Pokemon that someone else has hopefully bred, but in all likeliness, that a majority of the teams that you're going to find from the QR rental teams are going to be off of hacked Pokemon. And in my opinion, it's the same as cheating, because those Pokemon were not obtained through in-game memes, and that's pretty much what it says. Like, in the Pokemon rules, you're looking for natural gameplay, and these weren't obtained through natural gameplay, so even uploading them and doing all that, and then, like, downloading them back off the Pokemon Global Link, you know, if I told my friend, hey, go hack up a team, but put it on the Pokemon Global Link, and because PKX is so good, the Pokemon Global Link won't even detect it, or the hack check won't even care, go put it up on the Pokemon Global Link and I'll download it. That's really no difference, because, like, it's no different if you're telling your friend to hack a team for you, or if you're taking a stranger's hack team as well. So that's why I was like, why is it rent before you buy? Also, rental teams are a great way to try out new Pokemon strategies, but why go through the hassle of a rental team when you can use a simulator? See, it seems like the Pokemon Company made another imperfect simulator. That's kind of where I was getting this Pokemon Stadium idea from, is that, okay, yeah, I can try out Dragonite in Pokemon Stadium, I can try out Gengar, I can try out Alakazam, I can try out all these Pokemon, but for the most part, they're not going to have an optimized moveset, or they're not going to have the moveset that I want. And I feel that we're in the same with the Pokemon Global Link rental teams, that unless that person is thinking, hey, I'm going to run Normalium Z Stockpile Snorlax, then I don't get a way to test that out. So even with all the people uploading, it's going to be very hard to find a legitimate player thinking close enough to you to where you feel you can understand the Pokemon that much. Or if they have one or two Pokemon that you like, but the rest of the team doesn't synergize in your playstyle, I don't really know. And that's why I don't understand. Like, they kind of mix in here, you know, you can do Quick Link, Festival Plaza, Battle Tree, Battle Royale Dome, and also the Battle Spot. But then they talk about the items, and then they kind of talk about the other strategies. Like, oh, you can test out strategies as well, and you can maybe make that work during the Battle Spot. But you can find out through battle whether you're ready to put your own twist on the team. If you'd rather move on to a new strategy, you can learn a lot about how other traders are likely to act in battle by trying out different teams too. I do believe in this. I like going on Pokemon Showdown. I like using simulators to kind of just lose intentionally and as horribly as possible. Like, okay, it's this Pokemon versus this Pokemon. If I use this move, what are they going to anticipate? Are they anticipating this moveset? Are they anticipating a different moveset? Are they going to switch? I like making a lot of quote-unquote dumb decisions sometimes just to see if people will intentionally over-predict themselves, and I like learning those matchups. But you're not going to get that much mileage out of a stranger's team or someone else's team than you are if you kind of built that team for yourself on the simulator. And then also, how are you going to know if you're ready to put a twist on that team? And then it's not really rent before you buy, because buy kind of infers an instant transaction. But with this, it's rent before you have to go through the hours of, you know, obtaining the Pokemon for the parents, breeding it, then EV training it, then also maybe using a different QR team that's more suited for the battle tree. That way you can get some battle points, get these Pokemon the right items. So I think it kind of spoils people, but it also is an imperfect simulator, as I've kind of said, and Pokemon Showdown is already an imperfect enough simulator that it's a very specific community. It doesn't represent a majority of official Pokemon battles. So because of that, you kind of get locked and stuck in that mindset as well. So I think that the Pokemon Global Link, I still don't know what to call it, whether or not it should be considered legitimate. But I don't know if the Pokemon Company really thought this one through, or Gamefreak thought this one through, or at least the PR was really where they want to be. Like, why would they introduce so many things? You know, hyper training to kind of reduce the value of breeding. All these things that they've introduced have slowly been reducing the value of breeding, even going back to the changes in the 6th generation, making breeding so much easier, making the IV changes to where it's so free and easy to breed. Breeding right now is laughably easy compared to 6th generation, compared to 5th generation. Infinitely easier compared to the 4th generation, and yet more people are hacking now than ever, and this seemed like a not really well thought out response, because I feel that with the hyper training, with this, the Game Freak should have just gone away. They should have been like, here's a simulator if you want to be competitive, but by doing that, you go and piss a lot of people off. So my thought is, does having that on a different game change any of that? What if Pokemon Stadium was a simulator and you were able to program everything to the exact numbers that you wanted, and you didn't create the Pokemon, they were just simulated on something outside the game? But then would that like change hacking at all? Like, say if we had a Pokemon Battle Revolution kind of clone where that was the imperfect simulator, you know, bringing up to date with new mechanics. And the reason why I'm talking about Pokemon Battle Revolution is after doing my other videos recently from the MetroCon tournament, after having my bit of a nostalgia trip, Pokemon Battle Revolution is a beautiful game for its time. And having that be in a simulator format, how would that be in response to the actual games? Now, I feel that some people in the comment section are going to be like, oh, I'm being way too strict about an earned Pokemon or natural gameplay or all these freebies and handouts, but having an official simulator would pretty much make breeding absolutely useless, because if you have such a wonderfully beautiful game and a wonderfully fleshed out simulator, then that means Game Freak would have to make it the official competitive thing, that, you know, if there's a Battle Revolution clone or something else that comes out in the future, that Pokemon tournaments should be hosted on that. That with the first Pokemon tournament, it was actually called Pokemon Video Game Showdown, the finals were done in Pokemon Battle Revolution because it is that good of a game. So why not host the whole tournament where everyone would be on a fair playing ground? But then what's the point of playing the main series game? What's the point of doing anything unless you have to like transfer data into that, but then everyone's going to hack the data anyways? So right now, the cheating epidemic has gotten so bad that you're going to piss off someone. You're going to piss off the hackers by either removing hacking, coming down on punishing it, or doing something that kind of makes to where it's much riskier to hack, it's punishable to hack, or hacking just gets removed entirely. But unfortunately, a majority of the Pokemon player base has become hack based, that, you know, it's all about, you know, going to giveaways and getting cheated Pokemon. It's all about having that friend that cheats all your teams for you, and it's so accessible and easy right now that it's pretty much just kind of commanded control. So you piss off a majority of your player base, even if they are cheaters, even if they are illegitimate, or you piss off the actual true Pokemon fans. That if you're a hacker, if you're a cheater, you are absolutely breaking the spirit of Pokemon. That you do not fall under anything of a true Pokemon fan because you are not playing the game as intended, but that means you're supporting a smaller fan base, and you need to come up with a middle ground at some point. That this right here, like I said, it's not doing anything. It's not moving the game forward. It's not catching us up with hackers, because it's just encouraging hacking even more to then play a simulated rented hacking team and maybe not have that feel as bad to some people. But like I said, I'm just the hardcore guy. If it's not normal gameplay, if it's dubious by any means, it's like, no, that's not intended and it should not be condoned. I don't understand how Game Freak could give any little bit of a loophole or any kind of acceptance or tolerance toward hackers. But that's what this QR rental team does. That's what it seems like if you do, if you just cave in and say, we can't stop the hackers, our official competitive scene is now going to be simulator only. I think it can work though, because maybe one of the biggest issues could be money. Now, I'm not saying that this is the issue, because a lot of people say, oh, Game Freak supports hacking because if people just weren't allowed to hack their game, no one would buy the games, and then they would lose a drop in sales. I mean, when you look at it, there's not that many people entering VGC to begin with compared to the overall player base. You know, there's 10 million copies of Pokemon Sun and Moon being sold. Actually, probably over 10 million copies right now of Pokemon Sun and Moon being sold. Same with XY, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. You know, these are tens of millions of units, and the turnout for a regionals is somewhere 200-300, and sometimes even less than that. If you go to a smaller regional, you know, it's less than 200 players, so you lose a couple thousand hardcore competitive players that had to buy the game at some point anyways, and I would prefer that we just kind of scooch those people out of the scene. That if they refuse to buy a Pokemon game and they'd only play Pokemon Showdown, or they'd only play something else because they're not allowed to hack at VGC, I think that that's fine, and you're going to bring more people back. There's just as many people, if not more, that quit in the 5th generation, that quit in the 6th generation, that see all this hacking and refuse to continue supporting Pokemon. So if they crack down on it, you might get more legitimate players, which will strengthen the scene, could make you more of a legitimate esport, so the scene will actually grow. There's no loss of money from cracking down on the hackers, because they've already bought the game, and if they refuse to buy, someone else will, because that hacker is now out of the game. So that's not the argument I'm trying to make right here, but what I'm saying is, it could turn out to be a better profit decision to kind of have it be on a simulator. That way, if you want to play in official Pokemon tournaments, hacker or not, you can go into the simulator and you can do it. Now, this is going to piss off another subset, like the true, dedicated, 100% breeding, non-hacking kind of players. But honestly, if it boiled down to it, and this was Pokemon's chance of leveling the playing field, I think I would have to jump on it. Like, if Pokemon allowed hacking, that's, you know, the overall theory. Every time it's asked, oh, what if Pokemon made hacking legal? Well, it's not against the rules now, is it? I'm playing by the rules. That's kind of all there is to it. It would piss me off. It'd piss a lot of people off. And I would create a huge fuss about it. I wouldn't just be like, oh, hacking's legal now, I guess I'm gonna shut up about hacking forever and then just play the game as Game Freak has now changed the rules on it. No, everything I've said still applies for its time. Everything I said still has validity. Now the argument isn't whether or not hacking should be allowed, whether or not, you know, this once cheating, now unfair method, now, you know, against the spirit of Pokemon, is this the right course for Pokemon? So just create a different argument, but I don't think it's the right way of doing it at all. So again, like, no matter what, the Pokemon Company has put themselves in such a bad position that no matter what's going to happen, people are going to get pissed off. And that's not a good position to be, but it would be probably the best decision for them to go and have like an only simulator kind of thing to compete with Pokemon Showdown. That's an actual official thing that's probably going to be used in Pokemon tournaments or something like that. Now, there are issues with this. You put it on the 3DS, and then that means, well, there's no reason of making any main series Pokemon games anymore. So that's going to be a problem. And again, you're just supporting hackers, which should just be punished instead of rewarded in the end. And if you do it on the Nintendo Switch, how's tournaments going to work? Now, that's where I thought about this, you know, Game Freak job ad last month, actually about, you know, a month ago exactly, for the globally popular RPG development on console. So people are like, oh, what game could this be for the Switch? Now, I'm not saying that this is Pokemon Stars confirmed, but I think it could be very likely that we might get another Pokemon Battle Revolution, Pokemon Gale of Darkness scale game, just a Pokemon Stadium, you know, something where we go in, battle Pokemon in awesome graphics on a home console that is now portable. That means everyone showing up to a Pokemon tournament, it would either take forever for a Pokemon tournament to happen, or you have to bring your own Switch now instead of a 3DS, and you also have to have both games. So the demand issues could be a problem right there, since the hardware required for entry is going to be a lot more intense than just a 3DS, which has become more popular and very cheap over the last couple of years. So, it's like, there's no winning for Game Freak, and I still feel that they're leaning way too much on the side of hackers, and that's kind of what this discussion and what this video started on. I think QR teams, I would use them. I would have mixed support. I would just kind of be like, yeah, I might as well use QR teams, or I might as well like try out other fans' teams. But they need to fix the hacking issue. And since they can't deal with any hacking issue, I feel like this is dead in the water, and all of their other opportunities are going to be interesting. Now, also, this could be any kind of game, you know? This could just be Pokemon Rumble. This could be any silly spin-off franchise game that they want to throw on the Switch. But also, at the same time, it could just be a really fantastic game. And if it turns out to be competitive, that could be something. But I'd also have a hard time, like, imagining a regional setup where, okay, let's have 100 TVs set up or 100 Switches set up where people get to play Pokemon. And then how would that work for 2-player unless you can, like, sync your DS to it? That would be weird, though, because then it's effectively like having a DS game. Like, okay, what's the point of buying the main series game if I can just kind of pop over or something? I don't know. The accessibility starts to become really hard when we were talking about the Nintendo Switch compared to everything else. I don't know the right direction for Game Freak to go anymore. I just wanted to do a ramble about my thoughts. Like I said, I was trying to figure this one out. I thought I came up with something on the Pokemon Stadium. Might have like an enhanced battle revolution, but overall, it's going to suck no matter what happens. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.